What's up guys, welcome to another Tutorial Tuesday. Today's tutorial is going to be all about flash photography. More specifically, second curtain shutter flash photography.
I'm going to use the drift method. Freaking incredible. Round F16 for that to get that sunburst.
So I've been getting asked this a lot lately. What is second curtain flash and how does it work and when would you want to use it? So today I'm going to show you all of that stuff. So we're going to go over a couple of different uses for second curtain shutter flash photography. All right, so what is second curtain shutter flash photography? So basically, normally when you fire a flash, whether it's on your camera or off your camera, it'll go off at the beginning of the exposure. And if you have a really short exposure, then you don't really notice it. But when you start having longer exposures, then you start noticing it. And if you have a shutter speed of like half a second or a second or even longer, then normally the flash will go off at the beginning of that and then everything else will still be blurry in your shot. But second curtain shutter means that it will go off at the end of the exposure, which means that your camera will suck up all the light, and then if there's still not enough, the flash will go off and it'll freeze whatever's moving. So it's really great for action stuff. It's really great for low light stuff. It's awesome for wedding, sports, and just environmental portraits in general. So we're gonna do some of that stuff tonight out here in the beautiful volcanoes. And we're gonna have Tristan jump around on these rocks, and we'll have Brittany do some modeling and do some more environmental portrait stuff. So let's go get set up.
I go anywhere with you, 'cause you fill my mind, or you fill my mind. We could build a dream, start up something new, let the old be dead, let the shadows leave my head. When the world is on your shoulders and you feel like falling over, just come a little closer. I'll be there for you, I'll be there for you, 'cause when we are together, I know.
So the first thing I'm gonna do is put it into second shutter, and that is gonna be that symbol right there. So now that I'm in second curtain shutter, I'm gonna go ahead and start metering and balancing out the light. All right, so we need to wait just a little bit longer for that sweet spot of light, and we don't want it to be too bright, but we don't want it to be too dark for the look that we're going for. However, this technique, the second curtain shutter, will work under like super dark nighttime stuff. So the darker it gets, the better it will work. But for the look that we're going for, we still want a little bit of ambient light to play with for at least like a second long exposure or something. So we're just gonna wait for just a little bit. So while we're waiting, there's a couple of things, like I said, that this can be used for. And we're waiting for these nice environmental portraits, but you can also do stuff like this, which are some shots that I did at a wedding recently. And it's super dark. We have ambient night lights going on and the dance lights and all that stuff. But primarily the only light is the flash, and it's on second curtain shutter, and we've got a longer exposure, anywhere between a 15th to a full second. And having it on second curtain shutter, you really get that benefit of getting a unique motion blur, but then having your subject frozen. And you just kind of have to piddle with it depending on what your subject is for the speed, for the shutter speed that you want, because you can still do it too long of a shutter and it'll have too much blur, and you can do it not enough of a shutter and it'll just look like a regular frozen flash shot. So another example that's really fun to play with is sports during the nighttime. So this is a shot that I did for RAM, which is Race Across America, and it's where these ultra cyclists, they ride non-stop all the way across America for like 7 to 10 days straight, and they hired me to photograph them, and I had to be out at all hours. And I had to come up with a way to photograph them uniquely riding at night. And so what I did was put it in second curtain shutter, did a 2-second exposure, and then let them go through the frame and then have it timed right to where it freezes right where I want them, so you get that cool trail behind them. And then here's a shot of them doing a transition where one rider's coming up and then tagging another rider, and then he's taking off with the van there, and this is up in Colorado. So this is a great way to just add a little bit of unique storytelling to the image. All right, so what I'm doing now is I've got it to aperture of 7.1, 1/6 of a second, ISO 100. The other thing that we're gonna induce is a lot of motion blur, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have Tristan jump off this and I'm gonna pan with him. So the mountains and everything, the background for this shot is gonna be super blurry and he's gonna be frozen, but everything's still gonna be at the exposure that I want. All right, let's see it. Oh, that's great. Okay, so that was all right. That was a little blurry, and also he's a little bit overexposed. So what I'm gonna do now is I had my flash set to 1/4 power. So I'm gonna drop it down to where it's probably gonna be at a 16th. All right, so I've adjusted my settings. I got aperture of f7.1, 1/6 of a second, 100 ISO, and I've dropped my flash power down to 1/16 of a second. So it's really important for this if you're wanting full creative control to make sure your flash is in manual power. All right, so for this shot, I'm not gonna pan as much as I did for the last shot. I'm just gonna let the ambient light and just keep it a little more still. Ready. Okay, so that didn't work out as planned, and that's one of the things here. So I want to show you the mistakes as well. This just takes trial and error. So that was a 1/6 of a second. I bumped it up to f5.0 to have a little more ambient light, but as you can see, it didn't freeze him right because there was too much motion blur. So I'm gonna adjust the settings again and keep trying until I get that perfect look that I'm going for. All right, let's see it. Okay, do that again, but keep your arms.
Down?
Yeah, not straight, like.
You can put them out, just don't put them straight up.
Yeah, like assassin style. Yeah, like that.
Like this?
Yeah. Okay, so it's getting better. This is at 1/15 of a second, f4, 100 ISO, and 16th power. So I am panning a little bit, and I'm gonna go ahead and open up. The shutter a little bit more. I'm gonna go to 1/10 of a second now. All right.
Ready?
Yep. Yeah, that's looking good.
See?
All right, so I think I like that last one. And for settings wise, I'm at f4, 1/10 of a second shutter. I did bump it up to ISO 400, so it's still low, but just to get a little bit more ambient light without having him blurred too much, because again, it's about finding the right amount of blur to show the action, but not drown in it. All right, so that's the environmental portrait, and that was about 1/3 of a second, ISO 250th, f4, and I dropped the flash power all the way down to 1/128th of power. So that was about as low as it could go, and that's a good balance between ambient light and then bringing her out with the flash. All right, so between the environmental portrait and the jumping and the slight action and then the actual sports and the wedding, all that stuff that I showed you, those are all of my favorite ways to use a second curtain shutter. So I hope that helps you get a little bit more creativity in your flash stuff and take it to the next level. If you have any questions about anything that I went over concerning the second shutter curtain flash, good God, that's a mouthful, leave that in the comments below and I'll definitely answer them. If you like this stuff and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've got new videos every Tuesday and Friday. And make sure you hit that like button, it really helps me out. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.
Do it on repeat.